Back at the institute, we were an inseparable gang of four: Chloe, Thomas, Sophia, and me. In the beginning, everything was simple and carefree. We hit the movies, danced the nights away, and helped each other with term papers when the deadlines were creeping up on us. It was the kind of friendship that felt timeless, bound by youthful innocence and shared experiences. But as time went on, things began to shift in unexpected ways. Chloe and I, for one, started dating, and it turned out that Thomas and Sophia did too. The amusing part was that we both kept our relationships a secret, pretending to remain composed, thinking we were being clever and sly. Little did we know they were doing exactly the same thing. It wasn't until the truth came to light in the most surprising way that we realized how deep our secrets ran. When we all applied for the same prestigious job, we found out that both couples had chosen the same wedding date, February 14th, Valentine's Day. At first, we couldn't believe the coincidence, but then, without missing a beat, we thought, why not double the fun? So, we booked a table at the same restaurant and decided to celebrate together. Looking back, that night was magical. It felt like we were on top of the world, sharing the same joy, knowing we had each other. Back then, we imagined ourselves as future medical pioneers, surgeons with bright lights, accolades, and endless opportunities ahead. But life, as it often does, had its own plans for us. While I stayed on the path of surgery, Chloe chose motherhood, raising our daughter and managing our home with grace and dedication. Thomas and Sophia, on the other hand, dove headfirst into the pharmaceutical business, and it's safe to say they've been killing it ever since. I'm not here to boast or complain, but I will say this: surgeons in our city are highly regarded and compensated handsomely. The job comes with its perks but also its challenges. The hours are unpredictable and you can be called in at any time, late nights, weekends, or even holidays. Chloe has her moments of frustration, the familiar refrain of how everyone else gets to relax and enjoy life while I'm married to my work, but she knows how much I love her. I spare no expense when it comes to making her happy. We don't travel as much as we'd like, but we've managed to cross off a few destinations from our list: France, Switzerland, and even Brazil. But Thomas and Sophia, with their more flexible schedules, often invite Chloe to travel with them. They go on adventures while I'm tied up with work, and Sophia, despite her lack of interest in gardening, has spent many weekends helping Chloe at the cottage. To be honest, I didn't see anything wrong with that. It was just part of life, part of the way things had evolved over the years. And now, here we were, celebrating an important milestone: 20 years of living together, the anniversary of our wedding. The plan was simple: celebrate just like we did in the good old days at the same restaurant where we had gotten married. It felt like a full-circle moment. But of course life had other plans. On that momentous day, I received an urgent call. A 7-year-old boy had been in a terrible accident, and I was needed at the hospital immediately. Predictably, Chloe launched into her familiar refrain: how everyone else gets to celebrate while I seem to be married to my work instead of her. But what could I do? The surgery was complex, and it stretched on for 5 exhausting hours. By the time I was done, I was physically drained, but when I saw the relief and gratitude in the boy's parents' eyes, it all felt worth it. Finally, I made it home, but the day was already slipping away. I dashed into the shower, my mind a blur of thoughts, the weight of the night pressing down on me. I threw on my suit and hurried to the restaurant, my heart heavy with the anticipation of what was supposed to be a joyful celebration. In my mind, I had imagined a lively scene: bright lights, cheerful music, the sound of laughter filling the air. But as soon as I stepped inside, reality hit me hard. The place was dim, the lights flickering strangely, and everything seemed off. It was as if the entire atmosphere had been drained of its vibrancy, leaving behind a hollow shell of what should have been a festive night. I scanned the room, looking for the coat check so I could hang up my sheepskin and hat, trying to compose myself, rehearsing what I would say to Chloe. I had already missed an hour and a half of our celebration, and I felt a rush of guilt for letting her down again. Maybe I'd tell her that despite my work pulling me away so often, she was still the most wonderful woman in my life. But just as quickly, those words seemed to evaporate, fleeting and insignificant in the face of what awaited me. I walked towards the wardrobe, each step heavier than the last, when my eyes caught sight of them. There, among a pile of fur coats, was Chloe, my wife, entwined with Thomas, my best friend. At first they didn't even notice me. The shock of the moment gripped me like a vice, leaving me breathless. To say my world shattered would be an understatement. The sight of them together, so intimate, so betrayed, was unfathomable. How could this happen? On the very day of our anniversary, and with Thomas of all people? The betrayal was so cruel, so calculated, that it felt like I had been punched in the chest. I turned away, my legs heavy as if made of lead. I couldn't stay there, not another second. At the entrance, Chloe caught up with me, her eyes red, brimming with unshed tears. She tried to apologize, her voice trembling as she said, "I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. I don't know how it happened. The devil must have gotten into me. This is the first and last time, I swear. I love you, only you. It was just a stupid, fake moment." But her eyes told a different story, one of guilt and regret, but also of something darker, something more permanent. Her words felt hollow, empty, as though they were nothing but a mask for the truth that lay beneath. I couldn't bear to hear more. I cut her off, the anger rising inside me like a wave threatening to drown me. But she didn't stop. Instead, she became defensive, her voice rising, bitter. "What did you expect? You're always at the hospital. I'm still young, not some frumpy old woman. Do you really think I can just sit around and die of boredom?" A wave of fury hit me, raw and untamed. Die of boredom? I spat, my voice shaking with rage. While I work myself to the bone, giving you everything you could possibly want. Every free moment I spend with you. Have I ever said no to anything you've asked of me? I couldn't take it any longer. Before the conversation could spiral further, I turned on my heel and left, unable to stay another second in that place. I drove back to the hospital, the only place I felt I could escape to, even if just for the night. I couldn't go home, not after what I had just witnessed. The thought of forgiveness seemed impossible, and truthfully, I didn't know if I even wanted to. The idea of divorce had already taken root in my mind, growing stronger with each passing moment. But the hardest part was realizing that trust, that fragile bond that had once held everything together, now felt like a distant memory. Something irreparably broken. Betrayal like this doesn't just vanish. It lingers, haunting every thought, every memory. And no matter how much I tried to push it away, I knew one thing for certain: I would never be the same again.